Every waking hour is a chance to do better. Every mistake made has a lesson entwined. Never define yourself today on who you were yesterday. Take pride in the progress, whether minor or major. In this life, you should strive for what reinforces your beliefs. Pursue that in which uplifts you. Smile. Be kind. Even in the difficult times. You won't always be treated how you treat others. And though that is frustrating, your frustration is fleeting. Show compassion, regardless of whether it benefits you or not. It's not always easy, but the more you practice, the more seamless and stress-free your life becomes. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the FINNY D Show. I've got an exciting one for you today. I'm going to be talking about a couple of run-ins that I had when I was younger with the police and how that worked out. So I'll start with, which one do I want to start with? I got a couple of absolute juices for you today. I guess we'll start with one that happened when I was around about 16 years old. I was skating back from school. I had just gone down to a community school from the country, moved in with my stepdad down in the city for the first time, being a teenager in the city. I'd lived there when I was a kid but moved up to the country, and there was nothing else for me in the country. I had failed school too many times. They weren't willing to have me anymore, which was fair enough because I wasn't attending anyway. I didn't really give a shit, to be honest with you. So my only option, if I wanted to continue living with my parents and not be out of my ass, was to stay in school or actually make an effort for myself. So I went down to a community school in Melbourne and absolutely hated it at first. New school, but not just a new school, a whole set of students that were also there for the same reasons, sometimes more extreme than the reasons that I was there. So criminals, kids that have gotten out of juvenile detention centres, orphans, kids that had just come from another country, kids that were just dysfunctional in society, in younger society. So it was interesting. I met a lot of characters, and it at the beginning it was very intimidating. These kids were the real deal. These were kids that had broken the law, continue to break the law, steal on a daily basis, steal from other kids at the school on a daily basis, fight, get the cops called on them. The school had a lockdown policy. There was 4 doors into the school, and all of them could be deadbolted. In the case of a kid having a mental breakdown, the teachers had a protocol where they would lock the school up. And that would happen a lot. There were lockdowns. The windows had bars on them. We wore no uniforms. We called the teachers by their names instead of Mr. and Miss. It was interesting, and I wasn't going to the school for very long before I had fallen in with particular crowds living around that area. If you're familiar with Melbourne, outer suburbs around North Melbourne, Newmarket, Ascot Vale, Kensington, those areas were where I would hang out, where I went to school, where I spent lots of time getting to know people in that area, and also, getting comfortable living in this new life, because it was coming from a small country town in Victoria to dense Melbourne right in the shit of it. There's nothing quite like that, and there's nothing that can really prepare you for the lifestyle change, except just getting in there and experiencing it for yourself, which I did. And I would skate home from school every day, unless I was tired, then I would just jump a tram. And see, jumping trams back in the day was easy. There was Met cards, you could get daily, weekly, 3-day, and they would only activate when you would put them in a machine on the train or tram. So you could ride for free forever until a PSO gets on, and then you would just quickly register your ticket if they were coming down the carriage, or on the tram if they were coming down the aisle. You would just have your ticket scanned. There you go. It was almost an annoyance because, I would go months without paying for public transport before a PSO would get on, and you'd finally have to give up that ticket you've been holding on. But I never got busted fare evading. That was never something that I went down for. People I know, absolutely. But 16, I still had those legs. I still had those young legs. I could move, and I did. I met a girl on the way home skating one day. She was with a mate drinking. I'm 16. She's probably 15. Got a tall can of fucking Woodstock, drinking on her phone with her mate. Rough area. If you know Ascot Vale, you know it's a fucking rough area. And apparently it always has been. So this is about 2010. And she yells out to me as I'm skating down the street, hollering at me. So I pull up my deck, walk over awkwardly. It's never happened before. All of a sudden I'm getting yelled out to. Like, strange. Calls me hot. Starts fucking love bombing me essentially. And within, I shit you not, 5 minutes of chatting on the corner with this random bitch and her mate, who I would come to know quite well, she asks me out. She wants to date me. She doesn't know me, but she wants to date me. Me being 16, dumb, no clue, new to all this, new to this situation, living in an estate with literally fucking street kids everywhere, BMX bikes, kids riding all over the place, yelling, screaming, just big feral zone, but humble feral, like lovely feral. Kids, once you get to meet and know these people, they're your fucking best mates. You do everything with them. So these two random girls, I'm caught off guard by. She asked me out, and I say yes. And she calls somebody on her phone, her current boyfriend. She dumps him over the phone on loudspeaker in front of me, standing there with the fucking red face, not knowing what the fuck's going on. She starts crying and arguing with this person. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Meanwhile, she's still sipping at her Woodstock, her tall can of Woodstock. Fuck knows where she got it from. And just like that, she dumped her boyfriend, who I had no clue who he was. This is probably now 10 minutes in to knowing this person. And I've got a girlfriend. What do? Go home, take off my... we didn't wear school uniforms, but I got changed into something else and met her out the front. And walking around holding hands, very strange, very weird. But I was sort of into it. I felt I was popular. People were congratulating me. I shit you not, no word of a lie. This is how communal Ascot Vale was in the flats. It was like there was always something going on, and I was new to the scene. This has been happening. it was so fresh and so new and exciting. I had no idea of this girl's origins, where she lived, who her family were, who that guy was she just dumped, where she's going tonight, and where she'll be tomorrow. I had no idea. All I knew was I was getting attention from a girl, and that was very rare. So I was just enjoying it while it lasted. And she started asking some pretty risky things of me. I was living with my stepdad, and he's a no-nonsense, can be a fucking prick at times. And, even at the best of times, not understanding. So I wasn't really, and I was on my last legs as is. The whole reason that I was living down there was because I was misbehaving and not doing the right thing. So that's where I was. And she's asking me to sneak out. She's asking me to drink with her. At 16 years old, I hadn't drank yet. I was afraid. I was afraid of cigarettes. I thought marijuana gave you schizophrenia the first time you smoke it. I was under the impression that, I had all these things drilled into my head from a young age. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. I was a little shit, but I'd never done drugs, and I'd never drank. I was clean, but I was still playing up, and I was still a little shit. She asked me to sneak out one night, and I just let FOMO get the better of me, and I did one of the most riskiest things. It's a small unit in the middle of Ascot Vale. I would say it's impossible to sneak out of that house at the time she was asking me to sneak out of. It was like 10:30 at night. Everyone's still awake in the house. I live with my stepdad, my brother's there, and two nans in a unit, a small ass house. And I don't know how I did it, but I pulled it off. I got out. I didn't get out that easily though. I should explain how I got out. I snuck outside. My stepdad is walking around the backyard on the phone to his new girlfriend. I'm Splinter Celling. I'm like Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell, walking through the garden with putting the least amount of weight down on the ground as I can, because I'm walking through the garden to get to the front gate. He's coming. He comes around the corner. I hear his voice becoming clearer. He's coming down the fucking driveway that I'm trying to sneak down. I just get in the garden bed and almost like I fetal position myself. Just try to, as the littlest amount of impact as possible. And he steps, as he walks down the driveway, he steps on the tip of my shoe. We make contact. And he stands on it for a sec. And then continues walking down the driveway. And then walks back. And I'm looking up at him. I'm in the shadows, but I'm looking up at him. And he walks past me. As soon as he goes around that corner again, his voice dampens. It goes back around the corner. I hit that fence. That metal fucking fence. What sounded to me really fucking loud. I don't know what it would have sounded like to him, but I didn't get busted. I made it out that night. I got out. And I met up with this chick and her mate, and they're pissed. And it's a new world to me. I'm walking the streets of fucking a Melbourne suburb. Goofy ass me being offered cans of UDL. She gives me one. I take a sip out of it. I dry reach. I still don't like alcohol. I still can't drink it properly. If I am drinking it, I'm sculling it. I'm holding my nose. But back then, at 16, it was the same thing. And it was just the most out of place situation that I was in. All because of a girl who I barely knew, who was giving me attention, sending me text every 5 minutes, exciting me. I was excited. So she tells me she has nowhere to go during that night. Her friend goes home at one point, and now I'm just stuck on the streets with a girl that has nowhere to go. I don't know if the back door's now been locked. Probably. I don't know how I'm going to get inside. And I got school in the morning. She wants to go for a walk to the skate park. We go. We walk around. At this point, it's like 1 a.m. Not a lot of time has gone past, even though it feels like I've been outside all night, because we've just done absolutely nothing except walk and talk, and really not talk about that much, to be honest. She was really trying to get with me and shit like that, and I was just an absolute frigid and had not a lot of confidence about me, and I was not gonna fucking, I wasn't putting my best foot forward. I was just trying to, I was just being me, just trying to survive. She asks if she can come back to my nan's. I'm like, no, that's impossible. There's absolutely no way. That I struggled to get out myself. I don't know if I'll be able to get back in. I'm gonna have to make some excuse to get back inside. A little more on that later. She falls asleep in my lap in a flats laundry, downstairs laundry, to the sound of dryers spinning. I sit there for what felt like hours. My tummy starts gurgling and churning, and she's asleep on my gut, and she wakes up because of my stomach sounds, and she starts commenting on them, and I'm like, yep, yep, I feel sick. Yeah, I've been outside all fucking night, it's cold, and she's obviously used to this, and I still had no idea who she was. She did a good job of keeping who she was close to her, because even after, not being friends with her anymore, still have no idea who she was, really. So, cut to maybe a week, she stops coming into the estate, the Askervale estate, because she's from out of the estate. She's got mates that live in Askervale, but she's not from Askervale herself. The texts go cold. She's no longer texting me anymore. I try to call her. I can't reach her. And I'm staying at my mate Trey's up the road on the Friday night. I'm away from my nans and my dad, stepdad. So it's a lot easier for me to sneak out, because it's just I'm sleeping at a fucking street kid's, parents. They don't give a fuck. Kids skate around and ride bikes all night in Askervale. It was common practice, and I was kind of jealous that they got to do that, because I had to be in by a certain time, in bed by a certain time. So it was always good to stay at somebody else's house, because fuck it, they didn't give a fuck. I get a text from her at like 9 at night telling me that she wants to see me. But I'm going to have to make the effort to go to Moonee Ponds, it's only a suburb away from Ascot Vale, but it's, 9 at night, all I got is a skateboard, my mate's got a BMX. I make the dumb decision I said yes, I'm gonna come and meet up with her. She's excited, I'm excited, haven't seen her in a week. My mates ask if they can come, and I said, sure, why not? Let's go on a mish to Moonee Ponds to see my girlfriend. So we sneak out, which was easy. We begin the walk to Moonee Ponds. We take all the main roads up there, nicely lit, brightly lit roads. There's like an intersection that leads down to Ascot Vale, and then the other side of the intersection leads up to Moonee Ponds, and we just take the road all the way through to the main part of Moonee Ponds. She tells me what street to turn into. I go in there looking for the house. She hasn't given me the number yet. She tells me to go behind the house. I'm like, okay. There's an alleyway that leads behind all the houses in this particular street. Now I'm thinking it's strange because I thought I got invited over to her house. Now the plans have changed. She's telling me to wait in this alleyway. So there's like 5 of us. My mate's there, his little sister's there, and then another mate who's not related to them. We're all friends, but I'm not sure what's going on. And I've also got people that I've dragged into this situation now as well. And Ascot Vale's a couple of Ks away at this point. She tells me to go to this fence, this green fence. So we're walking up and down the alleyway. There's a couple of green fences. She sends another text, the one with the garage attached to it. I'm like, okay. Think I found the right house. Think I found the right fence. She goes, come in. So I begin climbing onto the shed roof from the fence, thinking, like, she's giving me the all clear. I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why it's so, like, why it has to be so undercover and shit like that. I get onto the shed roof. I'm sitting up there. My other mates are trying to get onto the shed roof. They can't. There's a lot of banging. There's a lot of dogs barking at this point now. There's a bit of commotion happening in the alleyway. I send her a text saying, is that your dog that's barking? And as I send that text, fucking spotlight hits me. Just beams, like I'm blinded by a fucking bright spotlight. It's a fucking police helicopter. Mind you, I was sitting up there for a little bit, a few minutes, catching the view, thinking that I was safe, thinking that I was all clear, you know? I jump off the roof, onto the ground, smash my foot and knee. We just spread in all different directions. A couple of my mate and the sister run up one end of the alleyway. My other mate runs down the other end. It splits into like a cross section. I ran down the fucking left side. I'm sprinting, and as I'm sprinting, I can hear divvy van, cop cars, skidding their wheels in the alleyway. I hear my mate yell. I hear his sister scream. I don't know what's happened to my other mate. I'm running, not looking back. I can hear fucking yelling. I can hear stop. They're yelling out stop. I'm just running. I run into a car park down the street a little bit, into like an apartment block car park. Book it in there as fucking fast as I can, dude. The helicopter's looking at where my mates were, not me. Got out, lucky as fuck. You know, at this point, up to this point in my life, I had a really good luck streak when it came to running from police. I was just either good at it or I just got away all the time. I just managed to always get away. I ran into this car park in this apartment block and put a fucking bin bag over me and tucked myself up against rubbish next to a bin, blended in with all of the trash. And a divvy van pulled up at the bins where I was. The fucking torch beaming, looking around. I hear my mate yelling still in the alleyway, probably 20, 25 meters, 30 meters away, across the fence on the other side, crying out. These police get back in their car, drive out. I sit in that bin bag for what felt like an hour, just waiting it out, just hoping the heat dies down, which it did. I get a text from my mate. The police have dropped him home. I'm not allowed to stay at their house tonight because of the incident, because of what's happened. Apparently it's my fault, which I guess it is a bit. It's not my fault that I was the only one who got away. You know, I just picked that direction and ran. There could have been a cop car coming down that way too, but there wasn't. I took the bin bag off me, stood up, took my jumper off, tied it around my waist, had a white shirt underneath. My hat was forward. I turned my hat around backwards, walked along. The only way that I could get back to Ascot Vale from the spot I was to walk down the main road for a bit. I had to walk. There was no other way. So I just walked confidently down that main road until I could get into a little nook a little side street that could take me through to Ascot Vale again. And I got away scot-free. In the eyes of the police, I got away scot-free from the police. But now, my mate's dad is pissed off at me because not only did he get busted, but the little sister got busted too. You know. So now he's pissed off at me. He wants an apology. He wants a chat, but he's also not willing to talk, or he doesn't want to talk to me tonight. He wants me to fuck off home, which I did. I just said to my stepdad, I knocked on the front door and said to my stepdad, yeah, I had an argument. And he's like, get inside. That was, and you know, of course I send the girl I'm supposed to be dating a message saying, dude, that was fucked. We all just got fucking done just about. She's all apologetic and shit like that. I got away that night. There was a handful of times that I've gotten away from the police and managed to hide. Another time was year 8, I reckon. This person that I'm wanting to talk about was a incredibly bad influence on me when I was coming up in school. And they needed a whole podcast episode just for themselves. So I'm just going to glaze over them quickly in this one, but be sure that they'll get their own episode. Absolute juicy fucking episode. This person, probably a year into knowing them, a year into wagon school, hanging out with them, just being a fucking asshole and being a little shit, and you know, losing all of my good mates, my mates that were honest, my mates that were allowed to come and stay over, traded them in for an absolute feral, somebody who brought out the worst in me, and somebody who was not a good person at all, and remains to this day a shitty person. You know, it's foreshadowing almost, because that person has never improved. They're exactly the same as they used to be, if not worse. Probably worse, because they're an adult now. They should know better. I wagged school this particular afternoon with that guy and some of his mates that I didn't really get along with, but on this day we did. We're walking, eating fish and chips. We were walking towards a cattle yards in this town, in this rural town. We just wanted to go climb on the poles in the cattle yards and fuck around, see what we could get up to, see what we could drag out. On the way to the cattle yards, though, we walked past the outdoor pool, and there's one of the back gates of the outdoor pool was slightly torn open. The chain link fence was slightly torn open, and they decided it was a good idea to just go in, check out the outdoor pool. It was probably during the winter or off season, so the pool wasn't full. It also didn't have anyone there. So the pool was half empty or quarter empty. I didn't go in. I had fish and chips to eat and music to listen to on my phone. So I sat down while they went in there, just at the gate, at the hole in the gate. It's where I sat to eat. I started hearing smashing, shattering. Tiles start exploding. There's a bunch of new tiles that were going to be installed along the rim of the pool, and these motherfuckers are frisbeeing the tiles at the sides, like the walls of the sides of the pool, laughing their asses off, shattering them. They're doing this for about 5 minutes, telling me to come in, egging me on to come in. Nah. For some reason, I just knew. I just didn't want to go in there, and I wasn't going in there. I'm looking at my phone, and I look up at the main street we've just come down. Not a main street, but more of a side street off the main street. I look up and think nothing of it. The first time I look up, 2 divvy vans, like back to back, coming down the road. I look down at my phone again, look up, like, oh fuck, dude, I just saw the cut. Like, I didn't really jerry what was going on when I first looked up. I got up, left my fish and chips there, didn't have much on me at all. Literally just had fish and chips in my lap. No bag, nothing. Just my pockets, my phone. I yelled out cops and then ran into the cattle yards down in there. Same thing. I ran, hearing behind me yelling, screeching of tyres. Well, this time it was gravel. Tyres fucking, halting on the gravel. I hear my mate yelling, cop yelling at him. I ran in deep into those cattle yards, as deep as I could go, and then got in and morphed my body into the shape of a fence against this tree in this long grass, and laid with my body bent around the base of a fucking tree in a fence. Covered myself in grass and laid as still as I could, and she walked past me. It was a female cop. Walked past me talking on a fucking radio to another cop. She walked so close to me, the grass that was covering me moved. She moved it with her feet as she walked past. Unfortunately, this time, my mate Trey didn't rat me out in Moonee Ponds. He just said he met me that night and I was wearing a white t-shirt. That's all he said. He didn't say my name to the police. So, good on him for that. But I can't say the same for my bad influence mate. I should have known right there that he's a dog. But, kids will be kids. He ratted me out to the police. He gave them my name. He told them where I lived. So even though I got away, and I also didn't go in there, I had to go down with the ship. Unfortunately, that was pretty intense sit down with my mum and my stepdad in year 8, because explaining to them that I actually didn't have anything to do with the smashing of the tiles, it fell on deaf ears. They didn't want to hear excuses. They wanted to know why I wasn't at school, which is a fair point. But my whole defense was that I didn't do it. I wasn't involved in it, but again, they didn't want to hear that. I had to have an interview at the police station, make a statement, and I was issued a caution. My second caution at that time, the first caution came from me sneaking out one night into a high school to do parkour. That was what I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was parkour. At the time, parkour was big. Parkour was popping. Everybody was doing it. Everybody's flipping around and jumping fences and ninjas everywhere, including myself. Little agile fucking skinny little ninjas running, jumping. I couldn't flip. There were people that were flipping though. And what better time than nighttime to go and do some parkour in a high school? So we thought anyway. Me and my mate, we go just walk into this high school, quiet night. We're not causing any trouble, just doing our thing. He wants to get on the roof, which I thought was a good idea, considering we were there for like half an hour and hadn't heard a peep, hadn't seen a car, hadn't anything. Seemed like a great idea. And, we're being quiet about it too. We're not banging walking along the tin roof. We're trying to be stealthy. That was our thing, sneaking. And we get on the roof. We're walking around. We're up there for probably 20 minutes, just catching the views, walking from building to building. And the cool thing about that high school was all the buildings were connected. You could walk from one end of the high school to the other just on the roof. It's pretty unique in that respect. We jump down off the roof after we've explored. We grab our scooters from where we stashed them. We start heading back to mine. All's well. Across town, we're riding. It's fine. We get to the bridge that separates the little area where I live from the main part of town. As we're going across the bridge, I asked my mate if he's all right. We look at each other in the eyes. I said, "You all right?" And he said, "Yep." As he said, "Yep," high beams hit the back of both our heads. The police lights come on. They caught us, middle of the bridge, sandwiched, out of nowhere. Tell us to stop. I was that close to the side of the bridge, I could have fucking bailed on him, but he was busted. I was busted. Too late to bail on him now. They already know what I look like too. We got accused of destruction of property. First we heard of it, considering we were just there to do parkour. Apparently, we were tearing up fans, air cons, kicking shit in on the roof. We were causing all sorts of mayhem, allegedly. I know for a fact that we didn't touch shit. It's not why we were there. Our intent was never to destroy anything, merely to climb, which we did. That was when I had to make my first statement to the police. They did a whole thing, took me through a whole set of this is what could happen to you, this is how much money you could end up paying back, you might have to go to court, we're going to have to take your photo. He went to take my photo after that big lecture. The camera was broken. So still to this day, the police have never taken a photo of my face. They wanted to that first time, but the camera was broken. Luckily enough. There are a couple of run-ins there. Sorry if the stories were a little bit vague. Been working some long hours this week, but still keen just to do a bit of a chat, a bit of a ramble. There's stories I've been thinking about. I'm really enjoying this podcast. It's fucking awesome. It's awesome just chilling and chatting. Essentially talking with myself. But, it's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's good. So, my apologies if those stories weren't as elegant as some other stories that I've told, but I enjoyed telling them anyway, and hope you enjoyed listening to them. If I can think of, there's been a couple of other situations with the police, but they weren't so much me getting away. It was more drunken, disorderly, later on in life situations that are best left unsaid in these episodes. They'll be brought up definitely later on in the more spicier episodes. So stay tuned for those ones if you're interested. If you enjoy the stories, enjoy the rambling, enjoy me chatting, talking shit, let me know. If not, stay obscure, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next episode of the FINNY D Show. Have a good one, guys. Trials and tribulations, finding miles on the situation, riding wild, hiding the sensation, till the day I feel these spaces.